Welcome. My name is Lars de Laat. I work for CSAR and been involved in the whole TOC implementation from when we started in 2004. We're a bit different than Nationale Nederlanden in a few respects. We're far smaller and we're not an internal supplier. And there's also a big difference in my presentation because I don't have graphs and no colors. So I hope you won't mind me. My agenda is as follows. I want to tell you something about CSAR Group so you understand where we come from and how we came in contact with TOC. Then I want to tell you something about how we implemented TOC or what we implemented from TOC. I want to spend some time on the things that we learned along the way. We learned a lot in the years that we were working with the TOC implementation. Where it has left us now, and I won't say that we've finished and that we've learned everything, but just an overview of what we are doing at the moment. CSAR is an IT company. Its main business is building custom software. It's medium-sized, about 300 employees. It has been established in 1993. So it's been in the market for quite a while. It's privately owned, and it's active only on the Dutch market. And to know something about how we came to TOC, I think you should know that in the strategy from the beginning, there's always been a component of trying to find a way to deliver maximum value to customers. And in the beginning, when CSAR started, this was translated into trying to minimize cost of operation and translating that as a value to customer by asking lower prices. So directly translating lower cost to lower prices. So a low cost strategy, good quality for a low price. What we found out, and maybe if you read the textbooks, we could have known this, but we found it out the hard way, that this is a strategy that is hard to maintain, especially if you go into a recession, which we had here in 2002. We thought that this strategy would give us loyal customers, but if you're in a recession and everybody's dumping, and prices go lower and lower and lower, you'll find that there is a point that customers are not so loyal anymore, and we found out that this is not the strategy to go forward. So we were left in 2002 looking at the IT market, looking at CSAR and trying to find a way to deliver maximum value to customers. And we were looking for a way, and the way I wrote it is more looking back. We were looking for some sort of generic, significant need. You can hear already TOC talk coming into the picture, but I don't think we called it that way at that time. But we were looking for a way to sustainably have an advantage and deliver this value. So the main question we were facing in 2004, is there any significant need that we can fulfill in the IT market? We tried several things between 2002 and 2004, but we didn't get the answer on this question. And then in 2004, we met Eli Goldratt, and we came into contact with the whole TOC ideas. And what we found is that TOC has powerful solutions for all sorts of generic problems. If you know, you all know TOC, so you know there are solutions for all sorts of environments, production, logistics, and also for projects. And what you might not know is that the IT world is known for very poor project performance. Yearly, all sorts of researches show that about 60 to 70% of IT projects fail. And when I say fail, they do not deliver the right scope at the right time for the price that initially was calculated. And the funny thing is that this success rate, let's call it success rate, has been the same for the last 25 years. So it's sort of everybody expects it from an IT project. It will be late. It will not deliver what I want. It will cost more than was initially budgeted. And what I also need to point out to you, in 2004, we were not a project company. We did projects, but I think it's fair to say that we did not outperform the market. We have no numbers, but the feeling, and we have some anecdotal evidence, that at that time, we were not doing much better than average. So in 2004, we came to the conclusion, there is some generic need in the market, because you can see how poor things are going. That's IT projects that are on time, or even early. And we also found a direction of the solution. Let's implement ideas from the world of TOC and use them to achieve on a timely delivery of projects. And that's where we set a very ambitious target. We had an ambitious target number-wise, financial, but also in what we wanted to achieve in the services. We wanted to build an IT company that would deliver all IT projects on time, all the time. And if you remember the S&T tree, there is a penalty in there, because you can claim that you can, but you have to put your money where your mouth is. So in this service, one of the components is a penalty. If we're 1 day late, we will pay a hefty penalty. That has something to do with showing that you are serious about what you're doing. It has also a lot to do with changing the mode of operation in the company. The services of CSAR used to be purely time and material based, so hourly business. And in that type of business, if you make more hours, you're doing a better job. And if you've been working like that for 11 years already, then everybody is used to that type of operation. Everybody's focusing on trying to make money by making more hours. Now, one thing you can deduce that if you make more hours, the chance that you are on time with your projects is not very high. So we needed to change that mode of operation. And for us, the penalty, I think, had more to do with getting people in the right mindset. The other thing we had in this idea of how we would market the service is a bonus for on-time or early delivery. The logic behind it is if companies at this moment in time are used to late projects, it will cost them a lot of money. And if we now are able, and be very exceptional in it, to be always on time or early, we should be able to get something extra from it, because we are generating value that was not there in the first place. Our assumption there was, especially not the timely, but that early delivery is valuable. Early delivery is valuable. That was a very strong assumption when we started. We called this approach time value. So this whole project service to the market was called time value, stressing the value of timely delivery, stressing the value of being on time or early. And when we started, we did this together with Goldratt Consulting in a viable vision context. But we'll not go into that. That's more the contract type that we have. So that's the starting point. That's where we started our journey. That was in 2004. Then in 2005, we did the implementation of a number of TOC principles. The things we implemented were critical chain, which you can imagine, if you want your projects on time. And for those of you who are not familiar to critical chain, the main syndromes it tries to tackle is people who do not start a task, but they should start a task, but they think they have enough time, so they are wasting time, and it's called the student syndrome, not starting the task. It also tries to minimize the amount of gold plating. That you already heard also Nationale Nederlanden talk about. It's the Parkinson syndrome. This is very strong in IT. Might be strong in other industries as well, but it's very strong in IT. People always can make their work even a little bit better. So when there is time, it will always be used in IT. You will never, if you don't do anything about it, you will always see that if you look at your projects and you have a planned duration, a task will always take this time or longer, never less. Because people always have something to do to fill up the time. And there is another reason for it. If you've always been told that you need to make 40 hours billable in a week, you're not likely to be used to saying that you finish your task early. Because what are you going to do? It's Wednesday and you have until Friday, so what are you going to do with the 2 days? So people don't give back the time that they have in their tasks. And another important thing is multitasking. By setting priorities on what tasks to work on, you try to minimize the level of multitasking. We not only did this, but at the same time, and that's the whole idea about trying to capitalize on what you are building, and I think that's also something that Eli stressed yesterday. You can become very good at something, but you have to, at the same time, try and capitalize on what you are building. We implemented a solution for sales, which helped the salespeople sell this service to the market. And the idea was also, again, we were looking at trying to get bonuses for early completion. And how are you going to sell that? Because especially the biggest obstacle we saw was getting a bonus for being on time. Because you're just doing your job. So why should someone pay you a bonus? So we had a sales solution for people to bring the offer to the market and explain to customers how we're going to do it. The assumption that, and that's a very important one, for this viable vision, if you remember the graph of the red curve and the green curve, the idea was that we would be on a red curve through the bonuses. This would make it possible for us to grow quickly. And what we found out in the next years is that there aren't so many projects, at least that we were able to find, where people were very happy if we would be early. Because they just want it on the time that they expected. And IT projects is usually part of a complete program, and they're not waiting for you to finish 2 weeks early. It's nice, but they can't capitalize on it, so there's not really a value that you are delivering. So it's we moved, I think, I don't know in what time frame, but I think in 2 years or so, we moved from the focus on early completion to being on time. And then you can already see that it's quite difficult to get this bonus component in. Because everybody feels, if I'm on time, I'm doing my job and I get paid for that already. So that for us was a very difficult part of this implementation because it brought us off the red curve. Important also in that specific, I'm not sure if it's only for IT projects, but it's also something that you see in IT projects. The main cause for projects in IT being late is uncontrollable scope creep. Now we've implemented critical chain. We're making very good use of the time in a project, but still, if we can't control scope, you will see that we are still not on time. We have buffers, we can handle some uncertainty, but not all of it. There are a few options that you can choose. The one way is we're going to work fixed scope. We're going to work out in detail all the scope that we're going to make. One thing we know for sure that in the end we will have a product that the customer doesn't want. Because along the way he will find out that things are a little bit different than he thought when we started. So that wasn't really the road that we wanted to take. Another route that we could have taken is buffering scope. Sort of classic approach where you say, I need at least this, and I have some other things that I would like, so I will make the project a little bit bigger, and then along the way we can change some scope, and we'll see what we make. We have to at least make the needs, and maybe we make some things you like if we have some time available. We thought that would negatively affect our market offer. Because if you have a scope buffer, it all sounds okay. It's not so magical that you can be on time. If you promise me to make twice as much and you only make half, I don't think I'm very happy. So what we did, and we developed already in the first 6 months when we were implementing this, is problem-driven scope management. And what it is using the thinking processes when you start defining the scope. Before this, when a customer came to us and said, can you make us this and this system? We would ask him, what does this system need to do? We just try to get all the information out of him, calculate it, offer it, and build it. We didn't have a clue why he wanted the system. What we do now is we go back to the reason why he wants a system. So we really go back to the problem that he's trying to solve. And by really understanding his problem, we first of all have a far better understanding what he needs than from just talking about a solution. But you'll also see that we get to completely different solutions. And it also enables us during the project to discuss easily with the customer whether something that he wants is necessary or not. Because we don't go back, but we discuss this functionality. No, we discuss this problem. Is it necessary to solve a problem? And we found that it cuts away most of the changes customers ask for during the project. If you bring it back to what problem are we going to solve? Another thing that we implemented is an agile development process. That's something, the way that the IT development process is organized. And that means that you try to put in the details as late as possible. You still choose how you're going to do it, but you're not going to decide at the beginning. You're going to decide during the project. You need to know a few things, otherwise you cannot size the project, but you don't need to know everything. And that's the idea behind the agile process. So that's the whole solution that we implemented. And that's what we started with. Now, what did we learn along the way? One of the things that we found out, maybe a bit stupid that we found it out later, but we were not a project company. If you look at the S&T tree, it sort of assumes that you're a project company. You do sort of freeze, unfreeze, there was nothing to freeze. So I think one of the important things is that the assumption is also in the S&T tree, the company is already steadily on Poogie. I'm not sure if we're still allowed to use Poogie from Eli, because I think it's ever-flourishing company now. But we weren't on that. So we overlooked some of the basics. We were looking at implementing some high-tech stuff, but we didn't have the basics. One of the things is basic change management. We're changing something very big, and I also heard this from Nationale Nederlanden. Did we have put enough effort, enough time in? How are we going to change it? When we started, we were thinking of changing the whole company. Everybody would be working the TOC way. Was that a good idea? You get all sorts of problems with your current business. How are you going to run your current business and also do the changes? The people. Are the people comfortable in a new way of working? And we found out along the way that not all of them are. And also one of the things is, and that's really the clash with the current business, you have a different model of measurement, different model of looking at the world, and you have a new business that you're trying to do. How are you going to combine them? But you cannot just say to your current business, we stop doing this and we start something else. So you have a combination of the two. That about basic change management. One of the things we did, and I think we already started that quite early, is put in also a learning program to get people to understand the thinking processes, and that really helped people to understand what we were doing. So involve all the people, which doesn't mean that everybody is comfortable in the environment that we were creating. Now, some other examples of major steps that we took along the way. It's not a complete story, but I just want to show you some of the things that we came across and that we needed to find out. I'm not sure whether all of this we already have been told at the beginning. So the experts that helped us maybe told us 20 times you need to do it this way, and we didn't. But it is probably with a change like this, some things you have to learn by yourself, the hard way. One of the things is we came from a time and material environment with a lot of efficiency measurements. If you're going to do projects, you try to make big resource pools that you can also use on time and material assignments and on projects. And you don't use fixed teams for projects because, well, that's not very efficient because they're not, maybe not completely busy all the time. This was a wrong solution. Because what you saw is, if you want to have projects on time, you need to have people that understand your mode of operation, and you have to have people that can work together. Because you cannot manage out all the variability with all the systems that you have around them. You still have to have people that can work as a team and solve problems. That was a big change for us when we implemented that. Another thing that we came across is planning. How are you going to get a planning that is reliable and also constant? You are changing the mode of operation, you're changing the way you are dealing with time. People know that buffers are going to be taken out of the planning. How are you going to make sure that people are not planning completely randomly all the time, or putting in extra buffers knowing that the buffers will be taken out? And what we did is we bought software that helps us get metrics from thousands of projects. So we can input the size of the project by a standard way of measuring, for example, function points. And it gives us the time it takes to complete this project based on our productivity. So we know our productivity, that's what we learned along the way. And now we have a way to benchmark all of our plannings. Are we still on the same productivity? Another thing we learned along the way, where's the constraint? So the concept is, the critical chain is the constraint for one project. Okay, but now you're running more than one project. How do you know how many you can handle? In the end, we chose a constraint and just designed the process around it. And what happened also was people were doing their tasks. If you have task management is a very important role. You heard that from Nationale Nederland as well. Task management needs to both be senior, to be able to act with the people in the project, but also needs to be able to check whether a task is really finished. And we had a system where people were doing their task and just shoving it to the next person, regardless of whether the quality was good enough. And this especially was true when the time to finish became shorter and shorter. So we were in the red zone, and people were focusing on their own task only and not looking at the whole chain. And we implemented more the idea of pooling work from one person to another, where the person would really accept the work from the person before him. So you get more a quality check in the process. Another issue, we didn't necessarily have enough projects. If you're an internal supplier, you might have a long list and you need to freeze projects and kill a few projects. We don't necessarily have that situation. Although in the beginning we were very successful and we were enthusiastically selling the service to the whole market, we came to a situation where we had an overload. In the S&T tree you will find a step that is called sustain. And that means you have to know how many projects you can handle. We didn't know at that moment until it went wrong. So that was one penalty we had to pay the customer, because we just had too many projects. And again, what you see then is that people start skipping rules, start skipping procedures, start not doing full kit and accepting projects. The other thing is, if you then say to sales, we don't want to go this fast, then sales will relax, sit back, and then you will see starvation happening. So it is not, sustain is not so easy if you don't have an easy, a load of projects waiting for you to start them. That is really a problem that we still have to deal with. In this economic situation, you will see that the starvation is a very big issue. And around this whole area of learning and learning and learning, you have this ghost from the past that is still lurking around the corner and that wants to try again, get grip on the situation and tries to put old measurements back in. So you still have this efficiency drive, and that's one that you have to fight all the time. Okay, so some of the lessons that we learned along the way. Where are we now? What you see is that we've come to, and that's already for 2 years the case, that 95% of our projects we deliver the right scope on time. And we do this for a fixed price, so there's no variable in the price. What you also see, and this is a softer thing, but I think very important, is that because we have so many people that came to know TOC and the thinking processes, it's easier internally to improve and to find problems and solve them. It's easier if someone knows the thinking processes and you're talking about a problem and you can point at him that we don't agree on level 3. We might agree that this is a problem, but we don't agree about the solution. That makes it far easier to discuss and find solutions to problems. Also, maybe a softer effect is what we see because we are doing this problem-driven scope management, and we go to a customer and ask him why he wants a software solution. You see that we don't do some projects because there is just no point in building a software solution for this problem because it won't solve the problem. That has something to do with the whole idea that we already had from 1993 that we want to deliver value. So there is some drive internally in this organization to do the right things. There's another reason for it. If you start a project that will not deliver value for the customer, he will find out somewhere along the way, and probably during the project. And if it's a project that's not delivering value and you have a commitment to deliver it on time, it will be a very hard commitment to make because you're also depending on the customer to be on time. And what you also see is that most projects are smaller. If you go back to the core, you can already get a lot of gold plating out from the specifications in the beginning. And a smaller project has less risk of running over time, so that helps us being on time. You see a lot of customers returning for new projects, and something new that is happening to us, what we did not envision, is that people ask us, how do you do this? Explain it to us. Can you help us improve this or that? Maybe some parts of our ideas or the full process that we have learned. And we didn't envision it. We were thinking of building a project company, but we are now thinking of also really marketing this part of the knowledge. Now, in the end, we started out with the idea of transforming 100%. Now about 20% of the business has been TOC'd. And I'm not really being fair to everybody because I think a lot more people have been TOC'd. But if you look at the business that we're doing, so the services that have a large TOC component in them, it's 20% of the services that we're doing. We recognized that there was a need internally to split the two lines of business and give them their own management. It's because of the measurements, it's because of the freedom you need to do some things different from the old way. And externally, we found out that we are targeting the market that we always targeted, but there probably is another segment that is far more interested in our new offer. And we found that it is necessary for us to also put a brand out or just cut from the old brand, not only internally but also externally. You can imagine that if you want to tell people that you are really focusing on delivering projects on time, and on the other hand you have a time and material unit that is mailing around that they have someone that can do network engineering for 50 hours, 50 euros an hour, that is sort of making the picture a bit fuzzy. So who are you? What are you doing? So that's the reason that last week we introduced a new brand in the Netherlands, Garantis, it's in Dutch. And it is focusing only on TOC or services that have a TOC component in it and that they deliver guaranteed on time. Now what you see for us in the future is broadening the scope of services. So it's this consultancy, but also we have a maintenance unit. And we also want to improve their performance. So, for example, the Vakery example that was shown yesterday of getting changes on time, always. I think that's something that we want to move into as well for the maintenance division.